Hey, yo, what up? It's not a podcast. It's just my thoughts with Rob Markman. You already know what it is, man. I want to shout out everybody who tuned in the other night, did a live stream on Justin Hunt, the company man, did a live stream on his channel. A lot of y'all have been asking me to collaborate. That's been my guy for a long time. We known each other, and he came up with this idea to do this collaboration. So it was Justin, it was myself, it was FD Signifier, it was Curtis King, Professor Sky, and Jeremy Het from Hip Hop DX, the bigger picture. He has that show with Elliot and DJ Head. So if you haven't checked it out, go to Justin's page, check out the live stream. I thought it was a pretty cool conversation. Y'all might have seen a different side or a different tone to me. Really because I'm really passionate about this shit. But when you're in the room by yourself and doing this by yourself, like sometimes somebody just say something to get you a little more turned up than you normally would. But check it out. I thought it turned out good. Feedback was really good. Thank you for everybody. So go to Justin's page. Also, I posted it on my community tab page, on my community post. So go check it out. Today I want to ask y'all a question. I do a lot of talking here. Y'all know that I talk with y'all in the comments. Y'all know I'm very, 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 very active in the comments. And today I want to ask y'all a question. It's something that came up during the live stream. If you watched the live stream, this came up on, the live stream on Justin's channel. This came up. And then I also had a back and forth with Omen from Dreamville about it last night on Twitter. And then Russ was going off about it. So the question I want to ask y'all is, to the audience, to the fans, and I want y'all to answer comments truthfully. I want y'all to be honest. I want to talk with y'all. So I really want to know y'all true opinions. Do you want to see more interviews from the biggest hip hop artists with music journalists, actually music journalists? You know what I'm saying? And more specifically, after the events of this year, right? This is like the second part of the question. Should Kendrick, Drake, and J. Cole be doing interviews to put this in context? Should there be somebody in the culture that these guys should be doing interviews with to put everything we just seen in context, to answer the questions that we still have, and to set the record straight on a lot of stuff, because there's a lot of narratives because these guys aren't speaking for themselves. I want to hear from y'all. I want y'all to answer. And I obviously have my opinion, but I want to hear from y'all. I want to answer. I'm going to answer back. So please, if you think these artists should be doing interviews, do they have to do interviews? Do we need more context? Will this stop the narratives from running wild? Truth is, the biggest artists don't do interviews anymore. They feel they don't need to. They have social media. They can disseminate their own messages. At times, for sure, media has been messy. Sometimes it's best not to deal with it, but you could pick and choose. There's some really good journalists out there. So, sometimes you're just picking the wrong ones. It's just a bad situation, but artists have shied away from doing big interviews. And it's also a follow the leader thing. Like if Drake's not doing interviews, then I'm not doing interviews, because he's not. I'm on that same level too. So if he's not doing it, why do I got to do it? If Kendrick's not doing interviews, why do I got to do it? I've heard that a bunch of times from artists. If Cole ain't doing interviews, why should I do interviews? These are the biggest artists in the game, so a lot of it is follow the leader. But we don't really get big hip hop interviews anymore. And this is coming from a guy who has built a lot of my career on doing big hip hop interviews. Now, it all started yesterday because my brother Wayno, shout out to Wayno. If y'all haven't checked Wayno's YouTube channel, please check it out. He did a video that talked about a conversation that he had with someone at Dreamville. Someone in the Dreamville camp, a Dreamville associate. I don't know who he was talking about, but he was basically saying that they were gassing up Cole for that battle, and that's how we got 7-minute drill. 7-minute drill was really uninspiring, and basically that he was speaking with somebody who's a Dreamville affiliate, associate, somebody involved with that camp, who was saying, or maybe a couple of somebodies who was saying that Kendrick was overrated, and this is at the time of the battle, and maybe and I guess his point was that Cole's own team kind of gassed him up to get in that battle and drop 7-minute drill when his heart really isn't in it. Fact of the matter is, Cole said as much on that stage too.
A lot of good feelings, you know what I mean? We had fun there. But y'all Dreamville niggas, man, y'all gas Cole up. Because listen, I was having sideline conversations with a lot of the homies. And a lot of my Dreamville homies was basically saying that Kendrick was, that he's overrated and that what has he done? And I'm like, yo, are y'all serious? So all this camaraderie that y'all made it seem like with the TDE and Dreamville and how they was locked in and this, that, and the third, this is all fake. And it bugged me out because I couldn't believe that at the point that it's one thing to say, okay, Kendrick then said something, we gonna rap at him, but it's another thing for like the homies around, that's around Cole to be saying shit like, yeah, man, like he ain't never, or he ain't this, or don't nobody listen to that. And I'm like, yo, y'all dead serious? So I always took that stance. And this is, when I said what I said, this was before J. Cole did his apology.
I know Wayno. I know Wayno personally. Wayno is a really, really good friend of mine. Wayno ain't a liar. So whatever Wayno said, he's not making it up. It was based off of real conversation. Maybe there's context missing. Maybe there's just something missing that we didn't see in that little clip where Wayno was talking and he went viral. But Wayno's not a liar. I can stand on that. Wayno is not a liar. So let me just say that. But that's not the point. I'm just telling you how I started. So, there was this Wayno clip that went viral from a larger video that he had. And then the clip started on conversation on social media about why artists don't trust media. All right. This started on Twitter. So Wayno's clip. And then, a couple Dreamville folks stepped in. My man Dot from Earth Gang said some things. Ebe commented, and then I saw an Omen tweet that was on my, like Twitter serves you things. Like, it's like you see people who you're following, and there's the For You tab, and sometimes they'll give you an older tweet, especially if there's context. If you're consuming a lot of things about hip hop and media, all of a sudden a tweet about hip hop and media shows up on my feed. It was from Omen, and it was actually from days earlier. Shout out to Omen. Omen also produced on Port Antonio. It was days. Omen tweeted this days before the Wayno video, so it was unrelated in that regard, but it's on the same topic. And I'll read the tweet. Omen says, today's music journalists get so mad that the greats don't do interviews, but when they do get a chance, they literally ask every possible gossip question and say nothing about the actual music. Instead of asking what inspired a song, it's about who they're dating. Garbage. So I responded with, gotta disagree, fam. There are plenty, all caps, plenty of journalists who don't do gossip, and the biggest artists know who's who, but still don't support. And I believe that. And then me and Omen went back and forth. It wasn't an argument. It wasn't no beef. I don't think anybody took it as that, but just in case anybody takes it there, like, you could disagree with people that you absolutely respect. I went on to name some dope journalists like EVA Ani, B. Dot, Andres Tardio, Craig Jenkins, Andre G, Jason Buford. Like, a lot of them are in print or less visible. Like Andres, for example, at Genius, or the verified interviews of the yellow background, Andres does all those interviews now. And you don't know him because he's off camera and you don't see him. But those are some of the best, very pointed conversations about music. He's gotten some amazing stuff out of artists. But I digress. So, we went back and forth about it. Then there was just like this artist versus journalist conversation that just exploded, and Russ offered a POV. I want to talk about, I want to read Russ's tweet. Russ said, respected journalists want artists to do interviews with them. Makes sense, but here's the issue. 1, most journalists don't have their own platform, so that somewhat forces the artist to fund and produce the interview themselves. I've done it because I see the value in it, but I understand if an artist doesn't want to pay for their own interview. 2, naturally as artists, we have shit to say, and we want what we have to say to reach the most amount of people. So going where the majority of people's eyes are, streamers, etc., the Casanats of the world, academics, going where people's eyes are is attractive. 3, nobody cares about reading interviews on magazine outlets anymore. Video interviews are king, and video interviews cost money. See point 1. I'll get to that. And then 4, really the only solution is journalists, just like everyone else, have to build up their brand/fan base and name themselves so that they can attract artists to that platform, or artists just invest money in producing their own interviews with respected journalists and putting it on their own platform. I've done this with B. Dot a couple of times. So I agree a lot with Russ on this. That's what I'm building on this platform. I have some incredible music interviews, and you name it, I've interviewed them all. That have nothing to do with gossip or sensationalism. That I'm one of the best to ever do it. Like, just frankly, right? Definitely one of the best of my generation, if not the best. Like, I'm in that conversation. Like, I'm well aware of who I am and what I've done. I love doing interviews. I want to continue doing interviews. But what I'm doing right now is building my own platform with y'all. I've built things for Double XL when I worked there. You know, y'all have heard me talk about being a part of the staff that was a part of those first couple of freshman covers. Like, you know, like, I called J. Cole personally to be like, yo, do you want to be on the freshman cover? Can you be on the freshman cover? Like there's certain things that I affected when I was out there. Also, countless other things at Double XL when I worked there. I built formats for MTV News. Besides doing articles and interviews, tons of them, I built formats, things that they eventually erased off the internet, things that you can't find anymore. I built and architected for Genius, like that whole Genius YouTube page. I'm a creator, a co-creator of you know, a lot of that. Shout out to Brendan Frederick, if y'all don't know, man. Also, you know, I worked under him, but we worked kind of side by side. You know, and there were others involved too. I don't want to get to naming names, but I was part of the architects that built that Genius content system. Now it's time to build my own. And I want to bring interviews here too. And I will. But it costs. You got to pay for a space to do the interview. I love this room, my office, but it's small. I can't exactly do an interview here. And it's a little out the way. It's like inconvenient for artists to get to. But so you got to get a space. Paying for a space costs. You got to pay for cameras. You got to pay for editors. You know what I'm saying? Production costs. I edit all these videos myself, but to do an interview with an artist as big as a J. Cole, a Drake, a Kendrick, or even a Russ, I'm cool editing this myself, but a big interview that I know is gonna like really you invest in that, so it costs. But I'm building it up for sure, and I hope artists do support journalists the way journalists support art, because we're hip hop too. The thing is that, and I've always said this is communal. I'm just as hip hop as any rapper. Now, a lot of y'all know too, I make music on the side. I'm absolutely an artist myself too, but I'm known primarily as somebody in media. And I'm just as hip hop as anybody. Come from the same environments, have the same stories, could relate in so many ways. It's just, this is the path that y'all know me for. This is where I've excelled at. But it don't make me any less hip hop than any artist. And at the same time, I'm not holding my breath or waiting for an interview to save me to build this channel. You know, if y'all only show up for this channel because there's a Kendrick interview here, or there's a Drake interview here, or there's a Cole interview here, or a Big Sean interview here, or a Nicki interview here, or Russ interview here, like you can name them. If you only show up for who I'm sitting with, then I'm building this the wrong way, because as soon as that slows up, then I lose y'all as an audience. What I want to build is a relationship with y'all. That's what Russ is saying. That point number one, like most journalists don't have their own platform. You know, I've built platforms for other companies and other brands. It's time to build up my own brand. You know, or artists who produce the interview themselves. He says, I've done it because I see the value in it, but I understand if an artist doesn't want to pay for their own interview. A lot of people make the artist pay for the production costs. You know what I'm saying? Like, production costs. And then, you know, what he says, naturally as artists, point to, we have shit to say and we want what we have to say to reach the most amount of people. So going where the majority of people's eyes are, which is the streamers, the Castanats of the world, is attractive. That's an excellent point, because I don't think artists ever gave a fuck about journalism. I don't think the industry ever cared about journalism. I think journalists cared about journalism. I think a small population of the audience cares about journalism like it's niche though. Like most people can't tell good journalism from bad journalism. You know what I'm saying? And most people lump it all together. There's a niche audience who could tell the difference. I don't think the artists of the industry ever cared. The reason why they went to The Source, Double XL, Vibe Magazine, like, you know, when these guys were practicing journalism, and it wasn't all good then either. You know, there were problems then. The artists always complained about gossip, salaciousness, when things didn't go their way, when the artist wrote something that they didn't like. Artists got a bad review. Artists definitely ran up on writers. I've had interactions with artists, you know, with one particular artist, maybe I'll tell that story at a later time, who didn't like their review. And we got into an argument of sorts. So the artists have always had this thing. It wasn't like there was a heyday of journalism where everybody got along. There was always this thing. But the artists came to the magazines not because they love and respect the journalism, it's because the source, Double XL Vibe, they had the readership. They had the audience. So you go there because you disseminate a message. It wasn't like this love for journalism. Like I said, that's niche. Now they go to the streamers because the streamers have the biggest audience. Russ is absolutely right. Artists go where the eyeballs are. They go who has the biggest audience. Where can I spread my message the most? That's just how it is. So for me, I'm gonna answer the question. I do think the biggest artists should do interviews, and I think they should choose who they do. I think Cole could benefit from an interview personally, and I could be biased because I'm an interviewer and I love interviewing. So, but I think Cole can benefit from an interview. I think Drake can benefit from an interview. I think an interview can humanize Drake right now, and people could see how he's thinking and what he's going through, and challenge him a bit, and challenge Cole a bit on the decisions they made and how they are kind of where they are. I mean, they're in great positions, but how the perception and the narratives run wild based off of some of their actions. I think Kendrick less likely, but Kendrick can benefit from an interview too. I mean, there's some questions that I definitely have from Kendrick as a fan and as just somebody in media about how that thing went. So I say yes, but I'm biased, and that's really why I'm asking you. The artists are saying no, right? Because the artists aren't doing them, so they're like, nah, we don't need this, we don't want this. And who's the other ones in that relationship? I'm saying yes. The artists are saying no. Y'all are the fans. Y'all are the audience. Do y'all want that? Do you think the artist needs that? If the demand grows, we might get it. Or the audience, you guys might say, nah, we cool. I'm cool with just the music. I know how Kendrick feel. He told me in the song. I know how Cole feel. He told me in the song. I know how Drake feel. I don't need them to explain it. Y'all might feel that way. So I want to have this open and honest conversation with y'all in the comments. I'm going to be right there with y'all. So let me know. All right? Hit me up. And until next time, we're going to have plenty of stuff to talk about. All right? Peace.